What is the thing that makes Philadelphia better than New York City and D.C.?
Believe it or not, the people. As I put it genteelly, they'll never get hemorrhoids.
Why? I don't get it.
Because they're perfect assholes.
Hi, I'm Denise Sabia, and together with Mike Bowman, we're your hosts for Renovation Radio. Mike and I are passionate about helping people create the home of their dreams. So if you're thinking about remodeling your home, or if you're just looking for some inspiration, we're here to help you make your dream home a reality. This is Renovation Radio.
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 Greg and I had a meeting with some people from Philadelphia Magazine about other things, and we mentioned that we were starting a podcast, and one of the women said, you should have Sandy Smith. And I said, oh my God, who's Sandy Smith? And she said, he's the editor for the real estate section. And I was like, oh, good. She's like, oh, but I'm not sure. He's a little inappropriate. And I said, sign me up.
She literally
Send me
said,
his
we
email.
found our perfect guest.
I go, oh God, he's the perfect guest. That's what, say no more. Inappropriate is the only description we need. So I'm not sure if this is correct. So from the internet to our podcast, our guest is Sandy Smith, a Harvard-educated Kansas City transplant who has called Philadelphia home for over 35 years.
40.
40! An outstanding writer who has written for several well-known Philly papers such as Hidden City Daily, the University City Review, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and my favorite, Philadelphia Magazine, where Sandy is the residential real estate editor. We all want to welcome Sandy Smith. Woo.
Glad to...
This is Sandy.
Thanks, everybody. Happy to be here.
We are happy to have you, and I have more. Sandy reports on houses, condos, apartments, and new construction. He discusses development and trends in the greater Philadelphia real estate market. Hopefully, before the end of this podcast, he is also going to sing us a little ditty. And if you want, I can join in. Me. I'm warming up right now.
Now I got to figure out what song I'm going to sing on the fly.
All right. Well, you'll have time to do that. Sandy says if you see me on the Broad Street subway or at the Reading Terminal Market, say hi. Do the same if you see me biking or walking around Germantown, where I now live. How did I do, Sandy?
You did great. As I was explaining to the audience, well, actually, one thing you left out, I'm a native Kansas Cityan. Everybody who knows me...
Kansas City transplant, I said.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I guess I missed, yeah. But everybody who knows me, that I love my hometown to death, and I go on about it, but I've lived here 40 years. That should tell you my relative fondness for the two places. Yes, I love exploring this city. It's fascinating. It's filled with history. It's got loads of color. It's got problems, true. But what city doesn't?
It's true.
You know?
I agree. We also have Justin here visiting us. So if you hear another voice, that's Justin.
Hello.
We'll just get this one out of the way. Which Kelce? Are you an Eagles fan, or a Kansas City Chiefs fan?
I am an Eagles fan, except when they play the Chiefs.
All right, that's fair.
Or as bad as they did the other night.
Oh, well, yeah. Listen, I share with the rest of this region the mourning over the collapse of the Eagles. I was actually looking for a rematch of last year's Super Bowl, and I would have been fine had the Eagles won. Because, we stomped you, and it was your turn. But then again, you got your revenge on us in the regular season.
Have you met Travis Kelce? Because he seems to be dabbling in a lot of real estate.
I have not.
Not Travis. The other one.
Jason Kelce.
Jason, the other one. The Philadelphia one.
Yes,
I'm clearly a sports fan.
Who may be ready to hang it up.
Retire.
Okay, here's a tangent, though. There is a design studio in Kansas City called Raygun. All their stores have on the side the greatest store in the universe. It was founded by a guy from Iowa who started out selling T-shirts while he was a student at Penn that had the seal of the University of Pennsylvania and the words "Not Penn State" around it. So he's pretty cheeky, and most of the designs are pretty cheeky. One of my favorite T-shirts that I bought there, it says on it, "I lived in Kansas City before it was cool." And of course, you're going to find lots of red and gold T-shirts there. But currently in the collection, there is one that's Kelly Green. And it says on it, "Go Taylor's boyfriend's brother."
I
My
love
daughters
that.
would love that. So I got a question for you. Being in Philadelphia, what is the thing that makes Philadelphia better than New York City and DC and Baltimore that we always seem to play second fiddle to?
Believe it or not, the people. Yeah, some of them can be, well, as I put it genteelly, they'll never get hemorrhoids
Why? I don't get it.
because they're perfect assholes.
Yes,
Oh,
that's what Philadelphia.
I'm way behind.
Others, Philadelphians don't put up with bullshit. They are pretty frank and honest, but they're also at their best as friendly as any Midwesterner I've ever met. And Midwesterners are known for being friendly, to the point where Easterners consider it superficial, and they're wrong. People here, I think, on the whole, have no illusions. Because they've lived in the shadow of everything else, they have a sense of what matters and what doesn't.
Which is funny because Philadelphia was the start of this whole country.
That's right.
And without this city and what took place in the taverns, we wouldn't have what we have today.
Indeed, and I'll drink to that again.
I'm in love with you already.
Jeez. Okay,
Will you
well,
move to Ambler?
find us the right price house. I'll consider it. I'm pretty sure I could persuade Justin.
You're not a city.
No.
No. We never heard. Where were you born?
I was born in New York,
Okay.
right on the cusp of Long Island, a place called Far Rockaway, right on the beach. And then I migrated to Lancaster, Pennsylvania,
What?
in Amish
Following the
town.
Amish? Did you fall in
Yes.
love with an Amish person?
All the time. Every time you wake up, it's just beautiful. Like,
I'm on a high.
Justin made me a Lancaster fan. We went to this club on Queen Street. It was called the Belvedere, restaurant on the bottom, club called Crazy Shirley's on the top. Lancaster doesn't have a gay bar. It's one gay bar closed, but this place, I swear, its atmosphere was so gay it hurt.
They didn't call it a gay bar.
Yes. And I fell in love with Lancaster right there. I tell everybody it is the coolest small city on the East Coast.
There's a reason why it's an attraction for hundreds of miles.
So you came to Philadelphia because of an ex.
Yeah, basically what happened was he was actually considering moving there because unlike me now, he's still not all that hot on this place. He's one of those sort of Negadelphian types.
It's a long time to spend in somewhere you're
I
not
like
happy.
that. Negadelphian.
It's not original to me, though actually that I free associate shamelessly. But anyway, you may recall that there was an ad campaign, like an internal PR campaign in the 1970s. Nobody knows who did it. They called themselves Action Philadelphia. But we believe they were a bunch of like local PR people who figured that, the city really needed a boost of self-confidence. And they came up with this slogan, Philadelphia isn't as bad as Philadelphians say it is.
That's good.
Which makes Philadelphians love it even more.
Yes.
You came to Philadelphia, and then what was the first thing you did when you got here?
Rode SEPTA everywhere I could.
Just
Which
to
isn't
see
very much,
Philadelphia.
right?
No, which is actually surprising a lot.
Yeah.
The subway system may be skeletal, but SEPTA Transit on the whole covers this region very well. Wherever I am, I sort of take a the city is my oyster attitude. And so wherever the transit will go, I will take it. 1, to ride it. 2, to see what's out there.
You're an explorer. Mm-hmm. Well, now you are the editor for Philadelphia Magazine for the real estate.
Yes, let's get into the
Like,
crux
how
of
did
why
you get
we're
into
here.
real estate?
How did I get into real estate?
You seem to know everything about everything, and here you landed on.
Real estate? Well, as I was explaining to you before we started this podcast, in a sense, I'm living the dream vicariously doing what I do. Because when I was like a little boy, I'm like 5 or 6 years old, you ask young boys what they wanted to be that time, usual answers might be, I want to be a cowboy, or I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be James Bond.
Or stuntman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In my neighborhood, not so much I want to be a cop or I want to be a firefighter. But you asked me, my answer was I want to be an architect. And my grandparents bought me a practice drafting set when I was 6 years old. I had no idea what to do with it. But, they sort of like tried to encourage me, but sometime in the 5th grade, I was exposed to this book where you're supposed to just look at pictures and concoct stories from them. And I discovered I was kind of good at it, and I liked it. And so I decided that journalism was more my speed. I kind of like sidetracked myself when I was at Harvard because I didn't go out for the Crimson. But I've sort of like been scribbling away ever since, off and on. But as for how I got into real estate, so my career, I was, I guess, maybe 55, 56 at the time, had kind of fallen into a ditch. And one of my fellow Philadelphia Gay Men's Chorus members tipped me off to a fellow named Noah Ostroff, who was looking for a marketing guy at his team at Coldwell Banker Preferred. So I followed the tip, interviewed, and Noah hired me. I am eternally grateful to Noah for pulling my career out of the ditch it had fallen into. And I would not be at Philly Mag now had he not told me to go out and blog.
What year was that?
2011, 2012, somewhere thereabouts.
And that's when you started at Philadelphia Magazine?
No. Well, actually, I started for Philly Mag freelancing in 2013. They hired me full-time 2 years later. I believed, and I was told at the time, because Philly Mag had issues with, like, no blacks on the masthead.
In 2015?
The magazine didn't have a history of, sensitivity to racial issues. I landed there at the right time because there were some people there who were interested in changing that. One of them's running the magazine now. We get more of the city into it now than was in it when they hired me.
And I don't think that's something people realize when they visit Philadelphia and they see these magazines and all these buildings. It's such a small square mileage compared to what really makes Philadelphia. Everybody made this thing, and they don't expect these neighborhoods leading into Center City.
Well, one thing that I know, about local politics is there's long been tension between the interests that want to promote Center City and the interests that want to shore up the neighborhoods. I kind of understand where it is, while I don't completely share it. Center City is the city's economic engine. 40% of its employment is there.
It's a fight for millions.
Yeah. It is, the place that out-of-towners visit when they go. Now, mind you, there are other places they can go.
They're missing the mark.
Well, for instance, I live in the city's second most historic neighborhood. Germantown is the site of one of only 2 Revolutionary War battles to have taken place within the present-day city limits. The other one was the siege of Fort Mifflin down by the airport. It's rich in history, and it's such an eclectic neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even the air quality changes when you get up there.
So what got you writing about real estate?
Well, as I said, I was writing for Noah, So a lot of that blog was about
It was just a
developments in real
natural
estate.
transition.
Yes.
And your love of architecture,
That didn't hurt,
right?
But
Tell everyone, what do you write about when you write about real estate? Are you writing about the local?
What I do on the Real Estate and Home channel is, articles about houses on the market. I guess, your listeners won't mind if I tell you that all the time I call it house porn.
Yes, I love it. I call it renovation porn when people show me renovation stuff.
Yeah. Because a lot of these houses are like drop-dead gorgeous houses with price tags that most of the people looking at them couldn't even think about affording. Mm-hmm. But they all love the pretty pictures.
Right. For those of us that can't read.
See, now you just
I'm just in it for the porn.
triggered a tangent.
Yes,
You know,
tangent away.
So as you know Instagram, right?
Yes.
What I do is eminently Instagrammable, but I am Instagram hostile.
Oh.
And here's why. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, I'm the guy who gives you the 1,000 words, and I want you to read them.
They're taken away from your 1,000 words.
No, it's not that they're taking away from it. Instagram doesn't make it possible to permanently link the pretty picture to the 1,000 words.
Yes.
Link in bio.
Yeah,
I'm
who wants
sorry,
that
you know?
bullshit? I don't have time to go up to your bio and find it. I want an immediate gratification.
Exactly.
Link right here. Show me. What's your favorite kind of real estate to write about? Like style of real estate?
Oh,
or
well,
homes?
if you're talking about, because most of what I do is residential. As far as commercial is concerned, most of what I do is hospitality, hotels, those
Fun
sorts of
ones.
things. Yes.
Yeah.
Cold and dark.
I do very
No.
little. I do no industrial, and I do very little commercial other than that.
Give me the residential porn. What's like been your favorite lately?
Well,
that you're
let me
like,
put
I
it
could
this
live
way.
here.
I have pretty eclectic tastes when it comes to architecture. My favorite style is mid-century modern.
Are you finding that a lot in the city, though?
Actually, there's a section of East Falls that's chock full of it.
You mean people are bringing it back and turning things into mid-century
No,
modern?
I
Or-
mean these are houses
They're
built
finding them.
in the 1950s,
Yeah.
and many of them by well-known architects like Richard
expansion.
Neutra. And one of them I got to tour. It was a house that I think belonged to a member of the Strawbridge family.
Yeah, do you get in these houses that you write about?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I don't go to all of. As a matter of fact, I don't go to most of them because I'd never get anything written if I had to tour every house I wrote about.
It would take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And knowing you, you'd segue a lot and start telling stories to
Yeah, well,
Stranger in the
well,
corner.
you would love to know. I am right now working on a story about a lovely English Gothic revival carriage house that was part of a much larger estate in Gladwin. The woman who bought the carriage house, whose previous owner had apparently modernized it when they converted it from stable to, residence, she decided to go whole hog on the authenticity thing. Peaked arches with lintels carved from a single slab of Indiana limestone, thick beams in the living room, a kitchen that, comes out of medieval England, except all the appliances, of course, are totally 21st century.
How do you find these places?
Well, when I started in 2015, I would get up in the morning and I would surf Zillow until I found houses that looked interesting. I don't do that anymore. Real estate agents are constantly throwing
Finding
houses
you.
at me. So I usually get my pick of like drop dead gorgeous houses. I also, though, do like to throw in some houses that are more modest but equally attractive.
Yeah, what grabs your attention? What makes you say, this, I'm going to write about this one?
Well, I will tell you this much. There are very few houses that I get from agents that I don't think are attractive. However, I do have a rule. No photos of empty rooms.
Everything has to be staged in real life, not that CGI staging.
Well, I'll take virtual staging if I
you
think the
will?
house is interesting enough. Because I know how much it costs to actually stage a house. And while probably the agent should have done that, if they didn't, and I think the house is neat enough, I will say, can you virtually stage these rooms for me?
And then they will. Does anyone ever say no?
I have yet to hear somebody say no, but I think there may be some people who simply don't respond.
If you could live in any house, what would that house look like? Mid-century modern?
Oh, absolutely.
And what town in Philadelphia would
Yeah,
that
no
be
wonder
in?
you mentioned
if you could,
Doylestown.
But this is one area where my boo and I kind of don't see eye to eye. He's a country boy,
boo.
and I'm a
cute.
city kid.
All right, that's all right. You can have your own magic wand, and he can have his own magic wand. Who should go first? Or
Why
yours?
don't you give your
All right, Justin, tell us.
Ideal.
Wave your magic wand
Yes.
and tell us about your house and
Where do you
what
wake
town
up
it's
tomorrow?
I wake up tomorrow somewhere on the beautiful Pacific. It would probably be in
in. He's
California.
out of here. He has left the East
Enough of
Coast.
this cold weather.
That's it.
But I mean, if I would stay in Pennsylvania,
No, you could make it yours.
Anywhere.
okay,
Dear
so it'd be
Pacific.
probably somewhere in either Malibu or Capri,
Yes.
or somewhere, Santa Barbara. I just like the beach weather.
So, and you don't care what the house would look like as long as you're there along beachy.
You're more about the
something beachy.
environment.
I'm
the
more about the
structure.
environment.
And a roof over
just
your
being
head.
outside most of the time. Anything that allures to me in architecture of the home, that would be pleasant. But I like mid-century. I like clean, streamlined, open
Like
spaces.
in Malibu's where you can have those doors that swing
Right,
wide open.
right.
There's no more wall.
Well, show me somebody that's like, ugh, I hate that. like, who
Well, it's
wants
not-
to
we don't
open
have
up
the
these
climate
doors to
for
the
it.
Beaches?
Actually, Justin just hit on, to me, the central thing that makes mid-century modern more appealing than other forms of modernism. Best mid-century modern houses combine open layouts and warm colors. There's lots of wood in them. The spaces may flow evenly. There's still a sense of intimacy and coziness in a lot of the best mid-century modern
I
houses.
thought coziness is one of my favorite words.
I also love log cabin architecture.
Do you?
I do.
I would never guess.
Yeah. I like
All
to
right.
get away.
So I got a quiz for you.
Okay.
As a Philadelphian and on your background, do you know who a celebrity's father was the most influential planner in Philadelphia? Do you know who it is?
He knows it.
1 degree of Kevin Bacon.
Oh my God.
Now you're authentic.
Interview over.
I
did
love
you
it.
know that
I
so
didn't
quick?
know it until I went to Temple University for community and regional planning. Never knew it. First 3 books we had to buy were Kevin Bacon's dad. Which is funny because we watched the layout of New York City,
Yep.
Washington, D.C. Then you finally get to Philly and you're like, Footloose's dad is the guy that planned Philadelphia.
Ed Bacon is the only city planner ever to appear on the cover of Time magazine. He was on the cover of Time in 1966
I might have to go to
because
dinner
of
with
his
you
Society
guys.
Hill Urban Renewal Plan. And Society Hill really was a great departure from urban renewal as it was practiced in the 50s and 60s. Because most cases, urban renewal, well, it did consist often of like bulldozing entire neighborhoods. They knocked out the most blighted houses in an area, built new ones, and left everything else intact.
I think one of the things at Philadelphia is the graffiti all over Philadelphia that brings it the color that people come to see.
Tagging is actually
Tagging is a different story.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
there is beautiful art to be seen all over Philadelphia. That the fact that they made that from multiple spray paint cans
Yep.
is unbelievable. My kids ask about it, and they're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "That is simply art in Philadelphia, and you won't see it anywhere else."
I understand why the New York City Transit Authority waged war on them, because even though they were works of art, the typical subway rider does not perceive it as such. But here's the other thing. We are a publicity and attention-starved custom culture. Tagging is basically a form of advertising. And I just thought about a noted building at the central intersection in North Philadelphia. I call it Times Square of Philadelphia because of its configuration. I'm referring to the intersection of Broad Street with Erie and Germantown Avenues. There is a building up until the 1970s.
The Lorraine?
It was the tallest building. No, the Lorraine's down at Fairmount.
Okay.
It was the tallest building in Philadelphia outside Center City. It was built in 1929. Its formal name is the Bury Building. Everybody knows it, though, as the Boner Forever Building.
Is that what it says?
There are these two taggers.
Yeah.
One who tagged himself as Forever, and the other as Boner. And they put their tags on the north and south facades of the building, which is the wide side facing Broad Street.
Oh my
So
God.
you saw as you're coming northbound on Broad Street, Boner Forever.
So it's
And
kinda
on the
like-
south side, Forever Boner. You know?
So it's like you hit it right. The William Penn looks like he's peeing on the city.
Yeah, Fishtown, right? Yeah.
So, do you have any game or thoughts on the Sixers going into downtown?
Well, when they first announced the plans for 76 Place, I wrote an essay in Philly Mag endorsing it enthusiastically. It has unrivaled public transit access. It would sit atop one of the central regional rail stations. There would be stations on both of the city, all three of the rapid transit lines. If you keep the lower level of the Fashion District open, everybody could get there. They could park their car wherever it is they live, take the train in, go to the game, and not get wet. But I've read studies about the effects of arenas on neighborhoods. People are still going to drive, even with unparalleled transit access. And also, the patrons don't necessarily stick around to drop coin in the businesses
they're not going
around.
to dinner afterwards. I was against it until I went to Boston for the first time. My brother-in-law lives in Boston.
Yeah.
We went to that
TD
arena.
Garden?
Yes. We took the train and it was beautiful. I'm a train guy, just like you are.
Yep.
I love it. We parked way out in the middle of nowhere, rode in. It was seamless. Mm-hmm. That's what this city lacks. Now, I can understand the impact on the neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see it negatively affected, but the gallery is dead. I mean, it was.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons the Sixers. There are two reasons the Sixers proposed to put this arena where it is. One, they want to be their own landlord. They don't want to,
lease it off.
Comcast Spectacor may accommodate them to the hilt, but they get no ancillary revenue. They want the ancillary revenue.
Is it fair to say a lot of this wouldn't happen without tax dollars?
Well, the thing is, the Sixers say that no public money will go into this. I guess I'll believe it when I see it.
Public money's going into it somewhere.
But the other thing is, I really doubt that there are enough arena rock concerts and monster truck shows to keep 2 arenas in Clover.
Because the Flyers are still going to stay over.
The Flyers will still stay at the Wells Fargo Center.
And the city planning is to build up that area with Citizens Bank Park, Lincoln Financial Field. And so they're kind of bucking the trend.
Well, now that'll be a neat trick if they can pull off building an actual neighborhood around that.
Well, there's a lot of businesses down there. And the plan to cover 95 to make it a green space.
Well, that's Center City again.
Right. Well, it's backing up to it, but I'm all for the 76ers in downtown. Now, I don't live there. I can understand why. But to me, the fact that I can get off the train, see that game, go to Chinatown or another direction is fantastic.
Okay.
Well, we covered retail and sports. What do you think in real estate? Like when you see these houses, and you were saying earlier that realtors send you stuff. So the world's your oyster.
Trend in residential?
Well, I don't know. I don't
What's
want to
the
know
hot
what
trend in
I don't
resi-
want to know the hot trend. Reverse.
Okay.
I want to know
Reverse
what's
hot
the
trend.
worst thing you're seeing that you're like, ugh.
The worst thing I'm seeing?
Well, we are on page for this one.
Keep it going,
Yes.
Sandy.
The mass customizers have given custom homes a bad name. They look pretty. But do they really function properly?
No,
Are they well built?
The guts are horrible. That's why I said to you, like, we prefer to be full-on custom, which is its own challenges.
Yep.
To build and rebuild the same thing over and over again is a mindless endeavor that most people will probably jump off of a cliff. Mm-hmm. The fact that you rebuild over and over trash is a horrible thing.
But the Inquirer actually did an investigation into, a lot of these mass customized houses, and they found out that they weren't really built that well to begin with.
No.
Water infiltration, mold, that sort of thing.
So what do you think of the style of them? You're like,
You can kind of tell that it's mass produced.
Garbage.
Well, what do you think about if you're in a spot, like you're in a rental, I'm in a rental, but you can improve your rental in the inside. You're not going to like change your siding to like hardy board or turn it into a Craftsman. But you said you live in a studio apartment.
Yep.
I live in a twin. And I've done a lot to it to make it homey and cozy, that cozy word.
Well, that's interior design.
If you can't even install a drain pipe in the correct direction.
Well, I was going to say, in that case, you may be limited by the terms of your lease.
Yes.
You know.
Do you have like the most comfy sheets? Or do you not give
Oh,
a shit?
I have really nice sheets.
Yes, that's what I want to hear. Give me all that stuff.
He,
Threat pillows,
he
sheets,
says that. What's
area
your decision
rug.
on
Well, they
that?
don't live
That's what
together.
I want to know.
Yeah, we don't live together.
Where do you
But
spend more time? At
you
your
don't-
house or his house? Sandy's house or Justin's house?
State of emergency, I usually go to Sandy's house to debrief and stuff like that. But I spend most of my time in the privacy of my home.
Let me digress for a bit for IKEA. Okay.
Yes.
I have a friend who says all
You're
the
never
time
going to
that
get to the movie.
IKEA is Swedish for junk. But there are some pieces IKEA makes that are actually well designed and they're sturdy and they last. The best known of these is the armchair they call the Poang.
Yeah, because there's no moving parts.
No moving parts. It's all bent wood. And its designer, by the way, is Japanese, not Scandinavian.
Go figure.
I think I just found them on Marketplace. They're like $450 each.
No, they're not.
Well, then I found something else.
They're $149.
Oh, I'm looking at the
Up
wrong
from
IKEA
$89
stuff.
when I bought mine. It's one of IKEA's best sellers, and for good reason.
What is the newest trend you're seeing coming in homes, design, whichever?
Architecture.
The wet room
interior.
in the bathroom.
Oh, do you like it? Yes or no? Wet room in the bathroom. Yes or no, Sandy?
I'm not sure what to think of it.
No, you got to say yes or no. It's
Well,
one
you
or the
can't
other.
say that because they're not. And I'll tell you why. It's a disaster waiting to happen. If
Just
not
in
done
wet
right.
room, yes or no? And do you know what we mean by a wet room?
No, I don't. What is
The
that
wet
exactly?
room is a space where you've got the shower and a soaking tub
All in the same
all in the
space.
same space.
Like
Behind
no-
a glass divider,
Let's see a
usually.
picture.
Like you don't need a shower. You don't need the glass shower wall. You don't need a shower curtain. It's pitched down, so all the water would run down to wherever the drain is.
Yeah.
Something like Kim Kardashian would live in.
Yes, Kim Kardashian.
It's like something you roll off the toilet
K.
into the
giving
shower
Kim
and
K.
roll out to work.
Yeah, I don't need my like toilet near it, but I'll
Yeah.
take everything else.
No.
And you're all in the
No.
same room.
Listen.
You don't like
This whole
it?
we got to do this
I like
together.
a little division in
Thank
that
you.
sense.
Well, what if
I
you
like
were
my
the only
privacy.
one in the room?
Then
Thank
yes.
Do you prefer, Justin, we'll go with you first. Do you prefer the atmosphere you feel when you're inside a place
All the time.
or
yeah.
certain amenities that you demand be in a place?
Well,
Which one?
It's interchangeable, but he's more amenities. I'm definitely a person that feels out. I'm feng shui totally. So I feel out a vibe. If I'm not feeling it, I'm out of there.
I'm on Team Justin. I'm about the atmosphere.
Totally.
We could tell Denise didn't have a lot to say. Got a butt in. She's like, this is too much. Mike and Sandy, I've got to get in here.
Yeah, you two are like too much in love. I gotta
Yeah,
like
that's
jump
because we
in.
have
I'm
the
sorry,
planning.
he is my boo, not you.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's all
I
right.
was trying to drag it back to
We
like
can
the
get a
topic
good
of our
conversation
podcast here,
going
so it
and
doesn't
still
get
have
all
biz,
get
bro.
edited.
Yeah, I'm definitely into the feng shui vibe.
Yes, I agree. I don't
feel
even
like
know
it's
a lot
fair
about.
half and half. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like, you walk into a place and you're like, I'm not comfortable. There is something to be said
Yeah,
about
cozy.
that.
That cozy word goes a long way.
How do you relax? That's it. Like, ultimately, you can build whatever you want.
Right.
The top of the line, this, that, and the other thing. Stop. If you're not comfortable in there,
Right.
it's over. You can build a log cabin for almost nothing. If it's comfortable,
You could
it's
build one
home.
on the beach.
You can spend $2 million on something if it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, money's not everything, right?
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 Design is everything.
Design
Design is definitely
and design
everything.
does not mean it's $1 million
Understanding
space.
personality is the key to the whole thing.
Well, Sandy, we don't want to ruin your night. You're going to a movie and you want to go to dinner. But we do want to wrap it up with what questions do you have for me and Mike?
Well, how did you decide that you wanted to do a freeform podcast as a way of promoting the business?
It's not really promoting the business as much as it is. We are in the business.
Okay.
We love it, obviously. We are
good.
creative. So we just wanted to talk to people in the business. We figured the average Joe out there wanted to learn some construction and hear some different viewpoints.
Let me give you the real story. We worked at a separate company together, and there were only two people in the office, and those two people were me and Mike. And we roared laughing. And Mike would say, we should have a podcast. And I'd be like, I know, everyone in the office thinks we're hilarious. And we were the only ones in the office. we knew each other previously because
Yeah.
I was a designer on a TV show and he was a carpenter on a TV show. So I used to make him do all kinds of shit for me. And it literally was just a pipe dream. And this was like 2017, 2018. We thought it was hilarious. Fast forward, we both wind up here in 2020.
Again,
and then
like I said, Greg Harth was
He
the one
started
that gave
as a
us
PM.
the water as the flower.
And I was like, he's amazing. He can manage people. People love him. He is the greatest asset here at Hearth.
No, I'm
And
not.
we mentioned to Greg Hearth, we have this podcast we want to do. And we had a name, the Glued and Screwed, our original name,
yep.
which is still hilarious. And then, so we chipped away at Greg until like eventually here we are in this room. And then we said, well, what are we going to talk about? And we wanted it to be like lifestyle-ish because I don't want it to be like a documentary about like how to build a house or
We
how to
put the
drywall.
nail in the wood and hammered it,
All
and
your
that's what
basement.
made the support.
So we try to bring like characters on, like yourself, and like segue in a whatever form or fashion it winds up being. And like literally, I'll write the title of the podcast after we do the podcast because I don't know what direction this is going to go.
Well, I'm glad I was able to help you along in that.
I'm glad you were too. You were
you guys
exactly
were
what the
great.
doctor
I will
ordered.
say this much, Justin and I, we're a little bit different in one other respect. Justin is a little more insular and private. I'm like gregarious and hail-fellow and well-met like my father.
Yes, you are definitely opposites. I can see that. And opposites
But
attract.
that's great.
nice.
That's
Yeah.
what works in a relationship. I mean, I
And
knew
one of the
I wanted to
things
be
I've
different.
come to realize is I don't give Justin enough we time.
Well, we tried to give him some weed time.
I want to take credit for bringing you two back
There's
together again.
There's a myth behind the legend.
It's a honeymoon.
And Justin's the
feeling.
myth.
I'm gonna wait. Let me real quick get my certification for marriage, and I can marry you guys at the end of this podcast.
Outta here.
Let me
Let's just
Google
hear
that.
I have a quick question. What is your favorite cheesesteak when you come into the city?
Stop it.
Is that
Don't say Jim's.
So dramatic.
Jim's on South Street,
okay?
which is permanent.
Mine
In
is
the
just Pat
process of
Steaks
getting-
with everyone says is horrible, but I just do it because that's where my dad took me my
That's
whole
it.
life
Where?
is Pat Steaks.
I love Pat's.
I love
I
Pat
do.
Steaks.
I
It's-
do.
Max's
Everyone
is
complains and
excellent.
says it's not real.
And the thing is,
But Jim's, everyone says Jim's.
I love Jim's.
order a whole cheesesteak from Max's and you have 2 nights meals.
I don't even know Max's.
Well, we're not going to argue.
Are we?
Real pigs wolf them down in one sitting, but he is not wrong.
You don't take it home.
We can, yeah. There's a diet issue, but
Yeah.
you throw me
We're
a
gonna be a
cheesesteak,
bunch
we're
of
putting that baby
fatties
down.
with some Jack
we'll
Daniels.
regret it all night long, but there is no wrong.
Now we need the Food Network.
Right.
Chad
We
Rosenthal
should
will
move
be
this
here
to the
next
Food
week.
Network and continue.
But we could also talk about broccoli rabe and soft
This
pretzels.
could go on
and-
forever, and they're going to miss their movie, and they're going to miss dinner.
Okay.
Sandy,
Okay,
tell us
fair enough.
where can everyone find you if we wanted to read more about you?
PhillyMag.com/property is the real estate channel. You'll find all my articles there. I still need to get myself a better personal website, so I don't have for that. But, look me up on PhillyMag.com/property. You'll find contact info for me at the bottom of every article I write.
Sandy Smith. And where would we find Justin? What are you doing these days?
Well, I'm in between. I'm getting into investments. I'm a landlord right now. I'm currently into trying to restore the flat that I'm currently in, so I may need your help. But and I'm looking for inspiration.
happy to bust
It's
everyone
inspiration.
around about
It's
everything.
We will
information
be
that
more than
I was
happy.
manifesting, and behold, I'm here now.
Oh my
Power
God.
of manifestation.
You should.
Yeah.
Well, this was fantastic. Did you enjoy yourself?
Oh, I had a blast.
Was it better than you thought it was going to be?
It was much better than I thought it was going to be. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. It was
Cheers.
really nice.
I love
with
that. Do a
everybody.
real cheers.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Renovation Radio. I hope you learned something new and that you're feeling inspired to start your next remodeling project. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Hearth Builders. We're always here to help. And don't forget to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any future episodes. We've got some great topics coming up in the next few weeks we don't want you to miss.